I'm sure by now you've had at least some experience with the weird side of YouTube. A bit of a nebulous term, but one which offers a curious window into the inner workings of the site. YouTube's recommended system is governed by a rather complex algorithm, which carefully assesses the interests and viewing patterns of the user, making sense of them to optimize what sort of content it should show to maximize revenue. Well, at least I'm pretty sure that's what it does. To the general public, its inner workings are a bit of a mystery. I'm sure that someone with a computer science degree and experience in the field could observe its behavior and come up with an accurate explanation for us everyday people, but even so, there are plenty of quirks and learned behaviors which I'm pretty confident, even given an in-depth explanation of the development process, nobody can truly explain. Though I personally feel like I'd have a better viewing experience if my YouTube feed was generated entirely by toddlers throwing Cheerios at a keyboard, I can't deny that the system in place has its appeal. Simply allowing the site to run on autoplay indefinitely will expose you to hidden gold you never would have encountered otherwise. It was entirely by accident that I happened to stumble across today's video topic, and I have to say, it made me almost completely rethink my criticism of the platform. There is no way I would have known this existed if not for some strange faults of the algorithm, and that's something I think about often. This I'm referring to is Wolf Song the Movie, a fully independent feature-length animated film available only on YouTube. And boy, is it the type of gold I was searching for. Welcome, everyone, to YouTube Safari, a series where I explore the strange underbelly of everyone's favorite creator-driven video streaming service we all know and debatably love. This isn't a cringe compilation, this is an examination. In an ideal world, YouTube is the perfect vessel for people to produce their dream show or film. It provides an outlet to host your passion projects, and a means to get paid for your hard work. Unfortunately, though, there are still a lot of limitations to consider with artistic expression on YouTube. If you're an adult, you probably don't have the time to dedicate yourself to an animated project on a TV scale, especially with monetary compensation to consider. If you're a child, you probably don't have the funds, expertise, motivation, or any amount of equipment to speak of. It's still very unrealistic for any old Joe to make large-scale projects on a YouTube budget, which is why we usually have to settle for content that delicately skirts these limits. Obviously low-quality, low-budget productions from kids that miss the mark in so many ways, or incredibly impressive large-scale productions that see small, infrequent updates, if they see any at all. That's the unfortunate reality we have to live in. But very rarely, and I mean very rarely, you can find something that bridges the gap between these two extremes in the weirdest way possible. Something that is both absolutely baffling and inexplicably admirable. Something you could never imagine making and, by proxy, could never fathom the type of person that would. It is in this middle area where Wolf Song the Movie happens to lie. So, what is Wolf Song the Movie exactly? Clocking in at a sizable 90-minute runtime, this animated film was produced entirely for YouTube by ThunderKathryn. Kathryn is a prolific animator best known for her participation in Maps and her original series, a majority of which focus on wolves. Clearly, wolves seem to be her specialty. Her online presence is actually quite reserved, which adds a lot to the mystery of this creation. I was lucky to even get in contact with her for this video, that's something I'll get into later. But as for the film itself, I can't tell you exactly how I feel about it. Like, I'm legitimately at a loss for words. It's one of the most outlandishly entertaining things I've ever seen in my life. Is it very obvious that it's a no-budget, mostly one-man show? Yes, absolutely. But at the same time, there are so many pieces of it that impress me on a technical and personal perspective. It's not an absolutely incomprehensible technical train wreck. This is a film, a full feature-length product that somebody made and released for our consumption. It's not 30 minutes, which would be impressive. It's not 60 minutes, which would be virtually unheard of. It's 90 minutes of pure, original, independent animation, coming mostly from one person. And it's one of the most bizarre things I think I have ever encountered. I'd like to attempt to explain the plot of Wolfsong to you for the sake of this video, but before we get into that, since the entirety of the film is available for you to see on YouTube, I have to ask that you go and give it a look for yourself. It's an absolute experience. I'm going to go ahead and recap the events of the story as comprehensively as possible, because even if every one of you was to do what I asked and watch the film in its entirety, there is a lot of lore and confusion that I didn't really understand on my first viewing. Are we all ready to start? Let's go! So, Wolfsong begins with this amazing title card, opening for a flashback of the Death Alpha talking to Cerberus. The Death Alpha is the main villain of the story, in case it wasn't apparent from that introduction. Cerberus tells the Death Alpha about how he can have unlimited power if he finds 3 items.
Stone of Souls, Book of Legend, and the Pure Heart.
Straightforward and to the point. I appreciate that. After returning from Hell, the Death Alpha leads his pack to the known location of the Book of Legend. A massacre ensues, but the holder of the book manages to escape, alongside 2 characters that will become important later, Arrow and his younger sister Yasmin. Next we flash forward to 2 new characters, Kara and Alador. These are our actual main characters. They are running from, or to, something, forced to stop by a snowstorm. The pair decides to rest in a cave until the snow lets up. That very next morning, the 2 of them are prepared to resume their trip. That's when they are discovered by Damien, a wolf who offers them safety from the hunters.
Otherwise you can stay here and let the hunters get you. Your choice.
This is one of the only substantial references to humans in the film, so their presence and role in this universe is up to debate. Alright, it's about time for our first Wolfsong lore lesson. Up to this point, we've seen 2 different distinct species of animal, which I'm pretty sure are wolves and dogs. The main difference between them is that all dogs are tame and have long floppy ears, while wolves are wild, have a lot of magical powers, pretty insane fur combinations, and, according to Alador, are supposed to be extinct or something?
I didn't even know your species existed anymore.
It's not entirely clear, but that's gonna be how things are for a lot of this movie. Best to get used to it. Back on the actual story. Damien leads Kara and Alador to his pack in the Barren Lands. There, he bleeds on them, and somehow that turns them into wolves. Yeah, get used to it. Should I be censoring this? That's actually a lot of blood. This is probably a good time to mention that Wolfsong is kind of gory. There are a lot of battle scenes and a great deal of death, and some really mature themes. This movie really doesn't feel like it was made for any specific demographic, and I actually think that kind of makes it better. There's no attempt to hold back, but it's not pushing for obscenity or lowbrow humor. I think that's a big part of what makes original YouTube passion content like this great, even if you probably shouldn't show this to kids. But whatever, all the blood, violence, and weird inappropriate undertones will just go over their heads. Yep. Kara and Alador have nowhere else to go, so they decide to stick around Damien's pack. Kara is a very protective older sister. She doesn't trust Damien, which puts her on edge with the whole situation, something Alador's naturally positive nature helps to ease her out of. It takes an on-the-nose misunderstanding scene, but the 2 of them assimilate into the ranks with relative ease. Alador and Kara are now a part of the pack. This is much more of a side note, but there's this mini arc where Alador has a romantic interest in this purple feather girl. It's really not that important to the story, but I wanted to bring it up because this girl's voice actor is very obviously young. Like, I've met teens with higher-pitched voices, but I can't imagine this girl being older than 12 or 13. It's not anything against her, I think she did a good job, but it makes some of the scenes where the others are talking about the relationship really uncomfortable. Like, this one, for example, where this wolf, who sounds like an adult, calls her out for being thirsty.
Admit it. Tell me how you feel about Mr. Two Color.
I don't quite understand what you're talking about, Melody.
Don't play dumb.
This just feels really uncomfortable. Unfortunately for the group, peace in Damien's pack doesn't last long. A squadron of wolves sent by the Death Alpha suddenly appears, attempting to retrieve the Book of Legends. Remember that? Well, the wolf with the book from the other pack at the beginning ended up in this pack, so all of that is starting to come together. A graphic fight scene ensues. In case you haven't noticed, there are a lot of characters in this movie. Like, a lot. But I think the one with the best entrance is this girl, who's supposed to play the role of the evil seductress who's actually sweet when you get to know her. We meet her when she's fighting her love interest, Lightning, and we get the weirdest shot of her.
Back turned.
It's strategy, lightning bolt boy.
I'm getting beat up by a girl?
You act surprised.
Okay, I think I know what it's going for, but the execution is a wolf with eyelashes trying to strike the most obviously feminine, sexy pose. Even if this was a human character, this would look really weird. Like, say you're in the middle of a fight with this hot demon chick, and suddenly she teleports behind you. You spin around, and in the middle of a high-tension battle scene, this girl is splayed out on the floor like it's that bit from the Titanic. There are so many scenes like this where the wolf is supposed to be fan service, and I feel kind of dirty watching them. Still love this character though, best girl, 10 out of 10. All new characters aside, the fight ends when Alador saves the enemy battalion leader from a snake, which causes him to have an epiphany. Turns out the power of friendship is the best magic of all, and he and his group promise to be good guys from here on out. Yay, nice, conflict resolved. Later, Kara and the purple chick are trying to jump over a tree, I think, when all of a sudden this happens.
You'll be able to do it one day, Kara.
Yasmin, stay close.
I don't know what it is about it, but that delivery makes me laugh every time. I think we just witnessed a murder.
Yasmin, stay close.
So this is where that dude Arrow from earlier comes back in. This is him and his little sister Yasmin. Like the wolf with the book, the two of them found refuge in Damien's pack after the massacre, and currently he plays the role of the emo boy. I wonder who his love interest is. But there's no time to find out because, oh no, the wolves are in danger again! The Death Alpha isn't about to give up without a fight. But just when it seems like they have everything under control, a new character emerges. Something nobody was prepared for. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for the best character in the entire film? Because oh my god, here he is.
Buddy, what are you doing in a dump like this?
I knew it. We'll continue getting attacked as long as they're here.
Go home, Cobalt. I've nothing more to do with you.
Evening, leader of the loners.
I'm beginning to lose my patience with all of these poorly planned attacks.
Overheard you? Oh, that's rich! That's really, really funny. You know, I'm usually the one who makes jokes out of the two of us, but I think you're really catching on. I am done! Cobalt outie! This is ridiculous! I did not sign up for this!
I love Cobalt. I really love Cobalt. Most of the voice actors are either obviously young, unenthused, or playing it up a bit much for my taste, but the voice actor for Cobalt, I mean, I'm impressed. I would hire this guy. I don't know what for, but god, he sells this character perfectly. It's people like the guy playing Cobalt that really add an extra layer to this film. He just put in so much more than he needed to, but I got the feeling that he was into his character, and that improved basically every scene he's in by a tenfold. I love this character. It's great. I'm not afraid to admit that. So the battle ends, and obviously the villains win because Cobalt is the best character. They end up taking Alador back to the Death Alpha, and this exchange happens.
Look out that cave opening right there, son.
What of it? It's a training base.
Look closer. We have over 25 fine female specimens, all at your disposal.
I don't remember that scene from The Lion King. They really changed Mufasa's character for that reboot, huh? I mean, hey, when he says everything the light touches is yours, he means everything. What is this, Jeffrey Epstein's Island? Has this been going on for too long? Because I am still reeling from that scene, holy cow! Apparently not fazed by the concubines, though, Alador refuses to serve the Death Alpha. This obviously enrages him. Because of his selfless nature, the Death Alpha believes Alador to be the pure of heart, sort of like how Harry Potter was the last Horcrux. If that was a spoiler to you, you don't deserve to have it ruined, sorry. The Death Alpha doesn't want to take any chances with losing his gateway to ultimate power, so he decides to have Alador tortured and broken down until he loses all will to fight. Meanwhile, Kara and Arrow have a flirtatious hunting scene. To To be fair, this scene isn't completely meaningless. First of all, it causes Arrow to agree to help Kara rescue Alador, which is obviously good. Secondly, it also reveals more lore, specifically concerning a type of wolf called a hallowed. What is that exactly? Well, I'll let Arrow explain it to you himself.
Long ago, wolves were mindless, emotionless killers. The gods, being displeased at the pointless violence, gave the wolves thoughtful minds, free will, and the ability to have emotions. Life became simple, but there was a problem. When they died, their souls had nowhere to go, so the gods created what is known as the Stone of Souls. Dead wolves would rest there after their lives ended, but there was a problem. Living wolves became greedy and easily accessed the power of the souls within the stone. This would make the souls inside suffer, so the gods decided to make the stone more of a prison. This made the power harder to access. Only the pure of heart could use the power, and the Book of Legends was created as a guide. After that, the gods hid the stone, making it nearly impossible to find. And as an added measure, the gods created beings known as the Halloweds to guard the stone. Originally, there were 9 Halloweds, each receiving a gift of the element power: death, life, nature, ice, smoke, fire, electricity, dark, and light. They stopped the power-hungry and protected the innocent, but peace was still far away. The Hellhounds in Hades were outraged that canines other than them had such a power, Cerberus in particular. So he ordered his younger brother to take an army to Earth, and a giant war broke out. The Halloweds were powerful, but they were outnumbered and were killed. Cerberus's younger brother stole the Death Howled powers and destroyed his body. He also took the Stone of Souls. This event gave him his name, the Death Alpha. His search for the pure of heart and the Book of Legends hasn't stopped since.
Okay, I know that was a lot to take in, but I think I'm just gonna leave it at that. That's there. Now that they've dumped a workable amount of exposition, Kara and Arrow have a plan to rescue Alador, which they bring back to Damien. He reluctantly agrees. The two of them set off that night with a group of other wolves from the pack. At the same time that all this is happening, Damien experiences a flashback. It is here where we find the first big reveal: Damien is Kara and Alador's father. How is that possible? Well, when Damien was younger, he fell for a dog he met while hunting named... Loop? That's her name? Her name is Loop! I'm not making this up! Okay, Damien falls in love with... Loop! God damn it, Loop!
I don't love you anymore.
I can't take any of this seriously. Her name is Loop! But back to the rest of the linear plot, this is a good point to mention something interesting about the animation. While at most points it may not be the most dynamic or emotive, occasionally, especially during fight scenes, we see some really impressive action shots and a lot of creative motion. Just wanted to point that out, I'll come back to it later. At this point, the raid on the Death Alpha is going a bit poorly. Kara was captured for a little bit, Cobalt and that one dude who defected at the beginning are duking it out, and everyone's fighting. Meanwhile, this new character named Blaze, who is also a redeemed bad guy, gives Kara the Stone of Souls, which he apparently just has, and promises to lead her back to Alador. Do we care about that? No, of course not. We care about Cobalt's backstory, which we just got. Hell yeah.
Excuse you? Please tell me you remember what you did to me. You don't. I should have known. Wolves like you, they only care about themselves. You don't care about who or what you stepped on to get where you are. I just turned a year old. Just a puppy. That's what had happened. Please let me go.
After that one. Hey, Uncle, check it out. What a little pup. Can't even control his bladder.
Even a weakling can become strong under my reign. Would you like to become strong? Kill your friend, and I'll let you live.
They aren't worth the trouble.
Perhaps you're right. Do it.
You took my sanity. You took my friends. You took my life.
This is the only story I care about. I love Cobalt. Yeah, you killed that dude. Kara and the others get to Alador at the torturing grounds, but unfortunately, it's too late for them. He has suffered long enough and is on the edge of death. Not one to go out without a game-changing reveal, though. With his last breath, Alador reveals to Kara that she is the real Pure of Heart, unable to elaborate as he is cut short by his own tragic demise. And that's the end of that guy. Rest in peace, buddy. So this has been a lot to take in so far, right? Would you believe me if I told you there's still more, and it gets significantly crazier? Because it does, and we've still got a good 1/3 of the movie left to recount. God, I love Wolfsong. Kara, Arrow, and the rest of the gang make their way home with one of the prisoners they rescued, a she-wolf named Fallen. Some stuff happens, they get attacked by a shape-shifting demon bear, nothing important. And then, first thing when they get back, Arrow tells Kara to wear the Stone of Souls around her neck, no questions. He skips past the part where she's supposed to give her consent and just puts the bad baby around her neck, leading to... honestly, just watch it.
Kara, can you hear me? Everything will be alright.
I'm not the Pure of Heart. You are.
It's alright, Kara. Stand to your feet. You look absolutely beautiful.
No, she don't! We really got this Animal Jam looking bitch out here. I don't actually have anything against this design. It's definitely something, but whatever. I just think it's really funny that all the characters take a couple minutes to talk about how beautiful and cool she looks.
Man, she's so boss! Man, she's so...
If the creator wanted to draw attention to this design, then I'm gonna give it my 2 cents. I don't care. So, Damien's pack has a plan to take down the Death Alpha and prevent him from achieving ultimate power. That plan involves Kara using the Stone of Souls against him. When the Pure of Heart wears the stone, she is able to access all the magic energy trapped inside of it. The only catch is that if one were to use the stone too often, they may eventually have their souls sucked inside of it and die. She hesitantly accepts the burden for the fate of Damien's pack and for Alador. Time passes, and the pack prepares to go to the gathering place so they can execute phase 2 of their plan. Kara uses the time she has to grow more comfortable with her Stone of Souls form. While all of this is happening, Damien grapples with the idea of revealing his secret to Kara, and she and Arrow continue to grow closer. For the most part, everything seems normal. Like a lot of the relationships in this movie, Arrow and Kara's is a bit surface level. I don't think there's a moment where something officially clicks. They just sort of have tension with each other. Honestly, if anything, Arrow is a bit of a jerk to her. When she loses Alador, Arrow basically just tells her to get over it and accept that she's the Pure of Heart. You'd think that Kara's protectiveness over Alador would be a bonding point for the two of them, since he himself has Yasmin to take care of, but their similar situations are never really explored. It's one of those cases where the characters are interested in each other because they're supposed to be together, which is, again, pretty common throughout the film. It's not a major issue that completely breaks the story for me, but the relationships take up a lot of screen time, and if I'm gonna be forced to sit through that, I'd at least appreciate it if it was thought through a little bit more. What's there is fun in its own right, but I don't feel very positive or negative towards any of the pairings in this film, and I think that speaks towards something in and of itself. Maybe I'm expecting a little too much from Wolfsong the movie, but really, it's just serious missed potential. There's no time to dwell on that, though, because the Death Alpha just sent his wolves to attack Damien's pack. Again! And Cobalt is here! While Kara and the Fallen are left to face the full might of the best character on their own, Arrow is having his own exposition flashback. We see a much younger version of him, trapped in a cave, where he encounters various animal spirits, like the kangaroo with a bad Australian accent. The spirits guide him through various challenges, urging him to believe in himself and unlock his inner strength. Once he makes his way through, he then initiates his rebirth, stepping through a glowing pool of water and emerging with a new fur pattern. This turns him into a hollowed wolf. Remember that piece of lore earlier? Well, now we've gotten the big reveal. As a hollowed, Arrow has gained new powers, but like with Kara, these powers come with a catch. Whenever he fully unlocks his true form, Arrow will have to cast aside all of his emotions and memories, losing his humanity. The hollowed form is truly a last resort. But back in the present, Kara has been captured by Cobalt. the Death Alpha plans to have her sacrificed so he can unlock the power of the stone for himself. Cobalt tries to get her to go on her own volition, but sensing trouble, Kara refuses. Unfortunately for her, whether or not she goes willingly hardly matters to him. Damien decides to go forward with their plan regardless, knowing that if they want any chance of rescuing Kara, they've got to give it their all. He leads his pack of rogues to the Gathering, where all the groups of wolves join each other to engage in festivities together and discuss important political issues. His plan? To fight each of the alphas, gain the unconditional loyalty of their packs, and lead them to the Death Alpha in a full-on war.
I, Damien, descend into the Power Twist Pack and current Lone Wolf challenge Alpha Zep from the pack of case violation.
What? Damn, this dude is ripped. I'm not entirely sure why, but during this scene, a bunch of the wolves have pecs, and it kind of takes away from the tension. Just a little bit. So Damien and his defined abs challenge all 4 of the alphas, including his own brother. Did I mention that Damien was banished from his pack a long time ago? It's not that important. Damien manages to sway all of the alphas to his side with his dedication to the cause, but he is in no condition to fight, and Arrow decidedly takes his place, vowing to exact revenge on the wolf that killed his pack. And just like that, it's time for the final battle. The Death Alpha is the real challenge of this fight, and Arrow does not hesitate to engage him head-on, ready to take revenge for everything that was unjustly stolen from him. Deep down, he knows that he doesn't have a chance, but he has a hidden weapon, and at this point, with everything he loves on the line, he's ready to use it. But even that isn't enough, and the Death Alpha straight up rips his spine out. I mean, jeez, that's fair, man. This battle is an absolute bloodbath. All your favorite characters are dying in grisly, unmentionable ways. Oops, did I say all of them? I actually meant everyone except for your favorite character, Cobalt, because he lives! That's the only thing I care about for this whole battle. Godspeed to you, Cobalt. Godspeed. But just when it looks like everything is over for Kara, Purple Feather leaps over just in time and brings her the Soul Stone. She's going ghost, everybody! The souls of the good wolves the Death Alpha killed emerge to fight alongside her. Kara stabs him with her horn, and it looks like the battle's finally over. But wait! He's still alive! He rears back and snaps the horn right off her head! This is getting really intense, jeez. When Kara gets the stone knocked off of her neck, we get to see that the horn being ripped off of her head in the Soul Stone form translated to her normal form. Apparently, the horn translates to her weird bangs, and there's blood on her head where the bangs were. So, is this implying that under the hair, the bangs were actually like a fleshy growth on her head? Maybe a protrusion in her skull? I really like that idea, actually. But back to the high-tension fight scene. Now that Kara is in her normal form again, she is vulnerable, and the Death Alpha knows this. He uses his powers to possess and control Damien, ordering him to kill Kara. Slowly, but surely, the Death Alpha plans to pick off every wolf she loves, one by one, and make her pay for thinking she could ever hope to stop him. It seems like she will really have to face and kill her pack leader. But before he can strike, she admits that she knows his secret, and she forgives Damien for abandoning her and Alidor when they were only pups. Though she didn't admit it at first, Kara knew all along that Damien was her father. She knew about the souls because of all the stories he told her, keeping that all deep down because she didn't know how to face him after what he'd done. But he had redeemed himself in her eyes, and now that the final burden was lifted from him, for a moment he regained consciousness. Unfortunately, though, his fate was sealed. The soul inside of him was too strong for him to fight off. He only had the time to warn Kara and to tell her that she had to kill him to get to the Death Alpha. For the fate of everyone and everything, she had to make that sacrifice. This is probably the most emotionally hard-hitting death in the entire film. I don't care about Arrow, he was just some emo kid, but Damien, you really felt that. You just got to see Kara lose everything. First, she lost her brother, the one thing she had from her old life, and now, just as she was starting to recover, just when she was starting to get back that family she lost, here she is, having to kill the one person she really has left to save everyone else. When she looks back at all the people who have died, you feel that. This is the sort of stuff that matters here. And that right there, that's the end of Wolfsong. Yeah, that's it. That's what it ends on. This video might have taken an ironic or joking approach, but I want to express how much I actually do like Wolfsong. Maybe not for the intended reasons, sure, but nonetheless. It's a very interesting piece. It has so many moments of utter brilliance, and the structural soundness of it distances it from a lot of other half-baked series on YouTube. It's not an abandoned pilot, or 30 minutes of meaningless gibberish. ThunderKathryn made a movie, almost entirely by herself, and it's incredible. I'm in awe of it. It's an immense achievement for content on YouTube, and if I'm being honest, film as a whole. You heard me, right? Wolfsong has done more for cinema than any of your blockbusters. Mainstream? More like lamestream, am I right? Star Wars? More like Star Snores. I don't have any others, I'm done. But like I said back at the beginning, I still have a lot of questions that I'd like to see addressed. Who was behind this movie? What inspired them to make it? Seriously, I just want some answers already. I've been asking this for way too long, it's starting to stress me out. Luckily for all of us Wolfsong fans, I actually managed to get in contact with ThunderKathryn. I learned some pretty interesting things from her. First of all, I'd just like to say that she's an absolute sweetheart and I love and support her, so please go sub to her, follow her, whatever you see fit. She's a skilled animator, and she has a lot of other interesting content to explore. Speaking of additional content, she posts updates to Wolfsong in the form of a Wolfsong dating game comic on her Twitter. It's perfect for people like me who can't get enough of Wolfsong content. She said a sequel is possible, but currently and unfortunately unplanned. What a bummer. For the sake of all of cinema, I really hope she changes her mind. But in the meantime, I'm totally fine with what we have now, and I'm satisfied catching up with her other endeavors. The film itself actually took 7 years for Kathryn to make, and she started when she was first learning how to animate. It was published in 2016, so that would set the beginning of production back to 2009. I mean, wow. You can say whatever you want, but I can't imagine working on something of that scale for 7 years. Holy cow. The style and character designs actually changed a lot through production, and you can find some really old deleted scenes on Kathryn's channel. These abandoned takes and endings are really interesting to me, don't know why. I guess it's just the fact of knowing how many different passes the story went through before it was finally finished. Totally go check them out. Though Karina Piell is the second animator credited on the film, her involvement only accounted for one scene, which was one of the cave fights in the Death Alpha's territory. It's actually really good, so I mean no disrespect to her, but for the most part, Kathryn still had full control and responsibility over the film's production. Some bits were rotoscoped, but according to Kathryn, most of the action and movement was entirely her own work. She also acknowledges the film's flaws, saying she would recreate some bits if given the chance. It is a product 7 years in the making, and 3 years old to date, so there's no point in judging it as a summation of her character. It's great to analyze on a critical perspective, but as for her as a person, Wolfsong in no way accounts for her skill level. If she were to recreate it today, I'm sure it would be great on an entirely different level than the original. While we're on the topic of credit, I'd also like to give a huge shout out to some of the other people credited for this film, like the soundtrack artist Quentin Curry. He also helped with editing, so he's an all-around guy. Speaking of all-around guys, the second person credited on the script is actually a voice actor. It's Beastly Time, who played... Wait, hold on for a goddamn minute. It's Beastly Time is the guy who played Cobalt. He's not just credited as an extra like Quentin and Karina, he's right there, next to Kathryn. She could have credited him as an extra writer or script editor, but she didn't. She put his name right there, next to hers. That means that Cobalt possibly had as big of a creative influence on the story of this film as Kathryn herself. Oh my god. Cobalt is Wolfsong. He's not just the best character, he's the only character. Everyone is Cobalt. We are all Cobalt. I'm Cobalt. Maybe that's why I can't find this dude anywhere. Like, Please, where are you, Cobalt? I want to hire you. I want to be you. But I can't do that if you're hidden away somewhere. For all I know, this dude could be some famous voice actor somewhere now, and he will inevitably leave all of us in the dust. I mean, I don't blame him for it. All I know is that he will always be Cobalt in my heart. Sleep well, my sweet prince. But on that note, that's all I wanted to say about Wolfsong. I'm a big fan of this movie, as you can clearly tell. It shows what people with a lot of dedication and skill can do if they put their minds to it, and I personally see it as a beacon of hope in this bleak world we live in. Even when everything else is going wrong, we can be happy knowing that Wolfsong the movie exists, and has 6.8 million views on YouTube. If I had my way, it would be more, but you can only ask for so much. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm a small channel and every bit of support helps, if you have the time, of course. And if you want to see more of what I do, check out my art, get called a small brain by me and my legion of fans over a Discord call, whatever you want. Feel free to follow me on Twitter, join my Discord server, whatever gets you off, I guess. I'm always around, for the most part, on my social medias and open to your inquiries. But that's enough of this for today. Thanks for stopping by. You all have the imminence and grace of 1,000 kobolds, and I hope you all have a very pleasant day. Bye!
Excellent team effort out there. Did you see me? Did you see me in that fight? They call me the Grim Reaper for a reason.
Nobody calls you that.
Shut up! Don't criticize me in front of them!